All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of my YouTube channel. I am so excited to have my friend and Wasatch Warrior promoter and IFBB judge and coach Robyn Maher on today. And we're going to talk about the fit model division and the bikini division and kind of get into all that stuff, whether you're a competitor or maybe just a fan of the sport too, and just kind of get a breakdown of the criteria and different things that you might want to know. But before we get started, just want to remind everybody to subscribe, comment if you have questions for us. This is going to be a really great in-depth episode, and Robyn is an expert on this stuff too.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of you. I love it. I'll say that. I love it. I get super excited talking about it. I don't know
Yes.
about expert, always learning, just as all of us are, right?
Yes, and so, but still, I would consider you an expert. So if you
That's
have
fine.
questions, like drop them in the comment section so that we can answer them.
Yes.
And so, but before we get in to all the fun stuff, I would love for Robyn, like, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. That's so kind of you, Valerie, and love being able to chat about these things and share like the ideas and opinions. And so we always go back and forth with that kind of thing anyway. But yeah, thanks again for having me. So my name is Robyn Maher. I am a IFBB Bikini Pro. I started competing back in, gosh, like 2011, 2012, many, many years ago. Started
Oh,
out in the
yeah.
figure division, but anyway, got my pro card, pro status. I earned that in 2015 in the bikini division. I competed for many years. I started judging around that time at regional local shows, which is when I got to know you, Valerie. Um, and then I think it was about 2020, 21, something like that, that I earned the national level judging a status. And then IFBB Pro, finally, that was last year. I got to test judge at the Pittsburgh Pro, which was such a great honor. But yeah, in between all of that, I really, really wanted to promote, show myself an NPC, an IFBB Pro League sanctioned event, just because I was traveling around and competing, and I thought this seems really fun. I mean, little did I know, right? But I just love competing, and I really wanted to give back to the athletes and to be able to do an event here in Salt Lake City. So I got the first ever pro league event in Utah, in the state of Utah. So it's actually a historic event, the Wasatch Warrior event, which we hold every April here. So yeah, and then I also coach mostly lifestyle clients. I do some competitors, but I judge a lot, which I consider like such a great honor and so much fun. So I judge almost twice a month. It seems like at least once, sometimes twice a month. And like in the upcoming months, I'm going to be in Vegas. I was in Arizona last weekend. I'll be in Twin Cities, in Minnesota to judge in November. So just have so much fun doing that. But yeah, all these fun things having to do with competing. So I have a blast doing that and judge all the Utah shows. So I get to judge here
She's
as well.
amazing. So, like I was saying, an expert.
Expert or obsessed with it, I don't know. Call it what you will.
So, I want to first start, but well, thank you for that introduction and sharing a little bit about where you started, like literally an OG when it comes to all of this stuff, 2011 competing and all that, and
There's been a lot of changes during that time. So yeah.
yeah, and the other thing too, before we get going, is Robyn judged me my very first show in 2016, and that is how we ended up becoming friends. And it's really cool to see that. Like, you were very nice because my first show, I was absolutely so nervous, but I had red hair and a red suit.
You did. I know. I remember that look.
Too funny. And you were like, yeah, the red hair's fun, but maybe you don't want to coordinate red with red next time.
I think we've all started somewhere, right? So I remember how that is. Like you're so excited, you want to just do well and get on stage, right? And sometimes it's hard to hear any feedback or critiques. But to your credit, one thing I always remember about you, and I think why we became friends and kind of connected, was because you were always like so like coachable and like had so much humility when it came to feedback. You're always just like, hey, tell me what can I do better, and that's like so refreshing with athletes, because like not any one of us is perfect. There's pretty much always, I mean, that's what we put ourselves up to when we put ourselves on stage, right? We're subjecting ourselves to that. We're kind of saying like, hey, I'm open to your opinion of me, which is hard. Like that's a lot. That's so vulnerable for all of us. So I vividly remember what that's like. I never ever want any athlete to walk away feeling like bad about themselves. But at the same time, it's an important part of our sport. Like you have to be open to feedback, right? You have to be open to like accepting what the judges decide for you. And that
Yes.
that can be hard.
Yeah, so you can grow, and it's nice too getting that feedback because then the judges become more familiar with you. And if you're competing a few times throughout your season, they can see you actively trying to make those changes, which is,
Totally. Yeah. And like we get excited about that. Like we get really happy, when an athlete comes back and we're like, oh my gosh, like well done. I can see your progress. I can see your improvements. Like, I don't know any other judge that doesn't enjoy that. Like, we want to be able to give you that feedback. And it's so respectful too, when an athlete listens and maybe, because sometimes you need to take time. Sometimes they're like, hey, you need to take some time off. You need to grow into this division, or maybe you need to choose to compete in a different division, which we don't always want to hear,
yeah,
but that might be a better fit for you, so it's always nice when an athlete, just kind of takes that feedback on and listens and applies it. And then yeah, like we're cheering for you too. Like we want the athletes we see to do well. So
yeah, it's fun to look down at the judging panel and see everybody smiling. I mean, I was just at Battle of the Bodies over the weekend, and it was a pretty tough looking panel of judges. Seeing Tyler Mannion in there, and Tim Gardner, and Dave Herskowitz, but they're still smiling. I mean, Tyler kind of smiling, but still, I was like trying to get the smile out of him. So yeah,
and some don't. And sometimes I will say this to athletes that I work with too. I'll always say, like, don't take it personally. Like sometimes you do. I remember I did when I was a new athlete up there. I was like, oh my gosh, like they're not even looking at me, or they're like looking away talking. And what you need to keep in mind is sometimes they're talking about your physique, or they might be saying, hey, this athlete compared to the one that was just on stage, they're discussing things. And that's a good thing, I think, as an athlete to keep that in mind. You know, also, it's a really long day. Sometimes these judges are there for days on end. Usually in my case, it's usually just a 1 day show, but I have judged nationals before. Like it's long, so give them a little bit of a break sometimes too. It's not that they're like not trying to be friendly, but it is nice, right? When you look down, sometimes you recognize those judges. If you've been in front of them many times, or when they're smiling back at you, it always makes me feel like a little calm, like a little
yeah, like okay, they see me, but then at the same time, I'm like, I want them to look at my physique. So if they're just staring at my
true.
face, sometimes it's like they don't really pay attention to the face. They're just looking at the physique, which is a good thing as well. So,
I think they're both good. Like I always say to my athletes, like you want to draw, when you have that positive energy and that confidence on stage, it really draws people in, right? And it really can draw attention to you. And yes, they're going to look at your physique as well. But when you have that like stage presence, like there's certain people I feel like up there, they're just like glowing. Like one person that just comes to mind is the first time I ever saw Courtney King on stage in person. This was like 2015. I don't know if they even still have this event. I can't remember what it was called. It was like in May of 2015. But I remember I saw Courtney King and she walked on stage, and I'm telling you, like, you couldn't look away. When they say, like, be so good, they can't ignore you, like, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And she had this cute little girl next door way about her. I mean, I'm just a huge fan of Courtney anyway, but
yes.
it wasn't like overly, sexy. It was very, I call it Skipper Barbie. That's what I call it. Like when I'm working with my athletes, I say that sometimes. I'm like, listen, it's like you're a cute little Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. You want to have that fun charisma when you're on stage. I mean, obviously you're showing off this hard-earned physique, but personally, I like that type of look on stage because I think it just draws you in. When someone's smiling, they look like they're having the time of their life. They're confident. Like I just like that look. But yeah, Courtney King, I just like that one just jumped into my mind as we're talking. Like just confident, she had that physique, um, and just that cute little, little sassy, but not over the top, not overdone. So
Yes, yes, which this is a good segue to lead us into talking about division criteria breakdowns
yeah,
for bikini and fit model. And Courtney King, she won Miss Olympia, was it 2017, 2018?
I think it's 16 tops.
16.
Yeah, I want to say it's 2016.
And so looking at her physique back then when she won Miss Bikini Olympia, that's essentially what we're looking for from a fit model division, would you say? Like,
I mean, yes and no. I don't think it's like that straightforward. I think a lot of us had that impression, when we got this new fit model division introduced, like, oh, okay, it's just gonna be exactly what bikini was like last year, and now bikini is gonna be a little bit harder. But I don't think it's that straightforward from what I'm seeing. I think it's really close, right? And that's why we've been given the images, of Ashley Kaltwasser, from like her reign as Miss Olympia, kind of when she took over that title. um and so I think that's a good reference, like around that time, Courtney King, Ashley Kaltwasser, in that era,
mhm.
in that pose. I don't love the name. I don't know why I don't like the name stallion pose, but
Yeah.
that angled front pose,
Yes.
that they were all doing at that time. So I think those are good references. But I think we just have to watch some of it's the definitions, the shoulders, it's how much definitions in the core and the abs. I think that's where it starts to get a little bit. But we can go into that. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Full glutes.
So yeah, for the bikini division, like what are
Oh, okay.
the official judging criteria? What are they looking for? We'll talk about bikini first, and then we'll.
Okay, yeah. So we're talking about bikini in contrast to fit model. There is going to be more definition, around the shoulders. Like they don't want to see hard square cap shoulders, but they're full, and we're going to see some definition there. Obviously, emphasis on the glutes, and where that hamstring tie-in area and the definition of that area is okay. Whereas in fit model, we're told we don't want to see that tie-in, that sharp tie-in and fit model. So always bubbly, full muscles. Like in bikini, you want to see full, round, bubbly is the word that I've heard Tyler use. For bikini, and so that's where sometimes even in bikini we see people start getting really hard, like if your glutes get squared off. Or again, if those shoulders or those delts are just so hard and square looking and overly, like striated, which can sometimes happen when someone, when you're trying to get lean, if you're like trying to pump up or come in full. It's as with everything in bodybuilding, there could be a fine line in some of those areas. But yeah, so more definition in general that we're gonna see in bikini versus fit model. But I think the key things are like, that cap delt, more fullness in that delt, and then the like tie-ins and the glute definition in that area.
So when you're at the judging panel or the judging table, looking at the girls in bikini, things you're looking for is those more rounded
We
delt.
want to see round, full. Yeah, yeah, of course. See that shape, but like I said, just not like hard and squared off. There's that fine line where it starts looking masculine, really. Like we want to see in bikini, we want to still look feminine, right? You're muscular, you're conditioned. We want to see that good conditioning. Um, and then, same with like the core and the abs. Like there's a point where, sometimes we'll see these bikini competitors, and I see this a lot at like a regional level. Like these girls might come in with like these shredded abs. Like, I mean, good for you. I'm sure you worked hard for those, but we don't really want to see, six pack. We don't want to see like blocky lines in your abs, even in bikini. So it's a tight midsection. It's obviously like flat. Like flat is one of the words they specifically use in the criteria.
Yeah.
So typically, like we might see some lines. Like for example, I'll hear of like some bikini athletes that are really like trying to make those obliques super prominent, and they're working a lot of obliques, a lot of weighted exercises. And I don't know about you, but with my athletes, I'm like, no, 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 like we don't want to do.
Way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stop. Yeah, because just yeah, in general, like that's gonna probably thicken your waist. Not everyone has that definition. Well, I don't get that. I personally don't. I get like the vertical lines,
Yeah.
and I can get a tight, small stomach, but I personally don't get like blocky six pack abs. I say that, but I've never trained them that way either. I've always trained them for, as we've been told, for the division. Like I've never done a ton of weighted, ab crunches, or, I don't know what some of these girls are doing, honestly. Like,
I,
are they doing like like hanging knee raises with plates hanging out? I don't know, like, because some of them are coming with these really hard, super like overly defined abs, and that is not the look for bikini or fit model. But yeah, so just back to the point, flat, tight core. I mean, whether you're talking about bikini or fit model, I mean, you gotta have that little waist, right? We're looking for that hourglass shape.
Yeah.
in either one.
And so that's the good term is hourglass, because I feel like for a couple years we were hearing X frame and then they've pulled away from that. Or maybe it was just sometimes some people that I was listening to that they were saying like an X frame and it was like that's
Um,
structure. It's always like it's the softness of like the hourglass.
I feel like we're still looking for that in bikini. I mean, it is a balanced physique,
Hmm.
which we're going to hear that when we're talking about fit model and bikini. I mean, define balance though, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like for bikini, I mean, we really are, so again, to like emphasize, like we want that shape on the shoulders and on the upper body, and we want it to be balanced on the lower half, the lower body, right? So we don't want any one muscle group released like standing out and being overly dominant. And that even goes for glutes, like there is a point where like even in bikini, I mean, yeah, it's all about the booty, but like if your glutes are overly dominant or like, super, I keep like going like this. Like I'm just picturing these big full glutes, but say your upper body is not as developed,
Hmm.
right? And some people aren't built that way, but hey, that's bodybuilding. That's where you got to really work more shoulders, more back, and build some width on the upper body. I just gave someone feedback just the other day that was asking me for feedback. It must have been that Arizona show that I just judged. And this cute little girl, she's super tiny on top. And she actually has some decent glute size for how little itty bitty she is. She's really a petite frame, person. But her upper body, I'm just like, girl, you gotta go do some like heavy lat pull downs. Like she's got to build some width, on the top. And that's all relative, it's all for that individual, that person's frame, right?
Yeah.
But so that is where, we still are looking for that X frame in the fact that, the balance with the top, upper and lower body.
Getting that balance. So let's talk about the fit model criteria. What is it that judges are looking for when it comes to the fit model division?
Yeah. So a lot of it is tricky, but even if you read the criteria on like NBC News Online, it'll be like not bikini, not as hard as bikini, not as muscular as bikini, which can be a little ambiguous, right? I mean, like so, but to that point, as we were talking about, like the delts and the fullness that we want to see in the shoulders and in the delts in bikini, we want to see less of that in fit model in density, so just not as much size
Uh-huh.
there. But then also like the definition. So it's that capped look, when we get like the lines and if you look too hard in the shoulders. And for some people, listen, I told someone this feedback just the other day too. I'm like, that might be as easy. I know what it was. It was the seminar we did at Wings of Strength just the other day. I was saying to the girl, listen, that might be as easy as just not pumping up, for some people. Like it's not that you shouldn't have because she was like, well, what? Like we're still supposed to have muscle, right? We're still supposed to work out. And I'm like, no, no, yes. It's not what we're saying, but like it's just that the look of that hardness, that's there. So for you, that may just be like not pumping up if you normally do, as like a bikini competitor would, right? Because typically bikini, someone might be doing front raises and pumping up before they go on stage or carving up a different way. Whereas in fit model, where it's just a little bit lesser look, softer, if you will. Yeah, it might just be bringing your physique in. Maybe don't drop your water. And this might be someone like I said who maybe has experience in bikini and wants to try out fit model. So maybe you've played with those things before. But for those of us who are coaches or experienced athletes, we know that those are some of the things that we do to change that look on stage, right? It's like manipulating water, carving up, pumping up, whatever. So it might be as simple as that for some people, but it's also applying those things to your training, right? So if someone is overly dominant on top and you want to do fit model, I mean, it's hard, right? Because I mean, we love muscle, we're in bodybuilding. At the
Yes.
same time, if you choose to do the fit model division, you got to know your audience, right? So it's like, okay, you might need to stop training upper body. I think you had that experience, right, for yourself. You might,
Yeah.
as silly as that sounds, you might, yeah, not train your upper body as much. Might do more like your training split might be a little bit different, where you're kind of doing like combo days or not isolating things the same. Um, but in fit model, full glutes still, like we said. Not so much emphasis on the tie-in, so we don't really want to see a sharp tie-in for sure. Definitely no, divisions in the legs, like no splits in your quads and that kind of thing. So that's what we're not looking for in fit model. It's just that more attainable level what bikini was at one point, and now we've kind of shifted things a little bit. And so, but flat stomach, like we said, an hourglass shape, balanced physique, like upper and lower bodies balanced.
And so, like, we were just at North American Championships and watching the prejudging there, the girls that were leaner or even more muscular immediately moved out to the side.
That's right.
And so the judges were definitely drawing a line in the sand of like, if you're too lean, that's not what we're looking for. We want that fullness. So still the muscularity like you're talking about, but more
Mhm.
fullness, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not that there isn't any muscle conditioning at all, right? It's just that it's just a lower level, lower amount of muscle density compared to bikini. And like you said, I mean, there's going to be just not a lot of prominent muscle definition. So again, like that might be just coming in, a pound or two more than you would have if you were competing in the bikini division. It might also be posing slightly different, right? We all, any experienced athlete out there, and coaches, you guys know, you can kind of pose down. I hate to use the word down, or just don't pose at all. You just don't have to like try as hard. If that muscle conditioning is there and that shape is there, you still want to present your physique in a flattering way, right? Like your abs are super tight, come out with good posture. You're holding your physique in a flattering way, showing those full glutes, but you just don't have to like over pose as much. So if someone has that muscle conditioning there, just, standing a little bit more relaxed and not doing some of the things that you would if you were trying to like I teach my clients, I don't know about you, but I kind of have them like press their arm against their side, against the lat when we want that delta pop or we
Yeah.
want that definition to show.
Yes.
So I have clients who will say, okay, just relax that arm. I'm like, shake it out, shake it out. We kind of have like a funny little shake it out. And then just like drop it, just relax. So in some ways it can be easier in that regard. Like just don't overpose, just relax, just come out and show the physique you built. It's a shapely physique, it's still fit. But the whole idea is it's fit model. It's someone that could be on the cover of a Muscle and Hers magazine. Hi, Jake Wood. There's your plug. Um, great magazine, a great publication like Muscle and Fitness, Hers.
Woo.
That would be, just an everyday physique that an everyday woman would look at and be like, oh, I want to look like that. That's what we're trying to do with fit models. So,
Yeah, so Abby,
yes.
so she won the overall locally at
Mhm.
the local show here in Utah, for fit model, and her feedback was from the head judge was possibly like try to add a little bit more fullness to your delts, but keep everything about the same. And so we went into the the pro qualifier show,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, let's pose a little bit differently to try to emphasize the delts a little bit more in your back pose.
Oh, okay.
Not. That was like,
Right.
so those
That
are,
was probably too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
too much. And so, because she was told from at the national show that she was too muscular and looked like she could be bikini. And so, looking at like, okay, we can make some changes probably with some posing to, like you were saying, pose down. Like,
Yes.
have
I
to
think she's
try.
a great example of that. Yeah. Like knowing her physique. For those who are watching, I judged Abby at that show and I thought she was a great example of fit model. I thought she looked awesome. I didn't hear that part about the delts. I don't know if I would have given that same feedback just personally.
Yeah,
Um, but I thought for her show and her winning the overall there, absolutely 100% agree that like she was the best choice for fit model and had a great shape. Um, and so I think like what we're talking about here, she's a great example of someone who could just tweak the posing a little bit. You guys could probably bring her in just a tiny bit softer.
yep.
She could probably just have some more food, come a little softer, whatever, and do less cardio, whatever, and totally come in, at a show at a upcoming show here. And I don't think she has to make a lot of changes. Personally, I think she's just like right there. I would not say bikini is the right fit for her, but that's just my personal subjective opinion.
Yeah, so that's like trying to find that balance as we're like navigating this new division, like the criteria of what that's going to look like, which leads me to just talking about bikini pros.
Yeah,
who are
that's gonna happen.
switching to fit model once the pro shows start happening.
Yep.
And so that's going to be very interesting because we're getting these fit model pros right now,
Mm-hmm.
but we've got bikini pros who have been told like, hey, you would probably do really well in the fit model division. And so looking to the future, it will be very fun and fascinating to see how that possibly changes things. And I don't want to say completely changes things because there's still the criteria, but I think that's just going to bring a little bit different level of like the muscularity aspect with the softness and a little more fullness. I don't know. Like, what do you like? Do you,
I Yeah, I think you, what did you just say? Fun and fascinating.
yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really. I want to grab my popcorn. We're just gonna like watch see
yeah,
what happens
right.
here. Um, I think I think off the top of my head, I think there's going to be some bikini pros that are going to be surprised. It's going to be like harder than they thought it would
Mm,
to like fit that mold, fit that criteria. I actually think there's going to be some of that happen. So I think there's a lot of people who think there's going to be like this huge like influx of retired bikini pros, right? People who haven't really been competing that are going to jump into fit model. And I think that may happen. I mean, so be it. The cream's always going to rise to the top. I mean, the best are going to always come out looking the best, but I think that it's going to be tricky for some bikini pros, and I absolutely don't. I've heard some chit chatter about like, oh, it's just going to be all these like out of shape bikini pros just like jump in and think they're going to do fit model, and I don't think that's going to be the case.
yeah,
Like
no,
I think there's going to be some good competition, and I think that yeah, I think the criteria, like we're gonna get a better picture, just like we did with wellness. When wellness first came out, people were a little bit confused and didn't really know what the look is, and then we look at wellness now, like there's a very distinct look. We know exactly what that look should be, right, and how muscular these ladies are on the lower half and what have you for wellness. There's just gonna be a little bit of that, but I've heard people say like, oh, the judges don't know what they're looking for. I've heard some negative comments about it, and I don't agree. I don't think that's the case. I mean, it's new, it's a new category, but as with every bodybuilding show, any event that happens, the judges can only choose from what is there,
what's
what
yep,
shows up in front of them.
exactly
I'm
what
constantly defending judges. Um, and listen, like I sometimes see things that like I don't agree with. And you know what? I'll even say this to people, I'll say, you know what, I wasn't there. I wasn't sitting at the judges table. All I'm doing is looking at one photo. So I don't know, what those athletes looked like. Because the thing is you don't know unless you're like there at the judges table at their angle and seeing exactly what they see in real life, not in photos. You really can't say. But I don't think that it's that the judges don't know what they're looking for in fit model yet. I think that we're getting a lot of stuff across the board that's showing up in fit model, just like we did with wellness for a while.
and
So, again, say it's some remote show in, Arkansas, like four people show up for fit model, like the judges are gonna choose the best fit, right? For like that day out of those like four ladies that are up there. And so, then people are going to see pictures and like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense. How come that person won fit model? Like, every event's going to be a little bit different with what we see, but slowly but surely we're going to see the consistency. And I think it's happening. I think it's there. And so my top tip for anyone competing in fit model, and this is what I do with like my athletes too, and people that I'm working with that want to compete in fit model, is always, always, always go back to the overall winners, the top winners from all of those national, those pro qualifier, those national level shows this year that have happened so far. That's going to be your best bet. Look, I even changed my clients' posing based on those pictures. A couple of my clients, I was like, you know what? I don't think you're wide enough in your back pose. I think we were being a little too conservative here. And we changed their posing because I went and I'll look at each class winner. And then I like to look at the overall winner. So whether that's, USA's or, North American championships that just happened.
mhm.
So just tips to people out there who are trying to figure that out. Go look at the bikini overall winner. Maybe they're trying to figure out which division do I fit in the best? Go look at those pictures. Literally put your photos side by side next to those winners. That seriously is eye opening. For those like, wait, go look at it and then go, oh, okay, so she's got this that I don't have, or I might need to lean out, in my glutes and thighs here, whatever it might be. When you put the picture right next to each other, I think side by side it shows a lot, and it also shows posing, like that
The,
that
the
front
difference in
angled pose, that stallion pose. in a fit model that some are still figuring out a little bit. You know, you could see how, like, look at their feet, look at how they're angling, you know, look at how they're standing, and then put your photo right next to it. And it really shows a lot because some are leaning like too far forward in it, right? Or they're not keeping their shoulders squared up. They're like turning the front shoulder like down and forward, you know, too much. And it's throwing off the look of the body. And feet also. Like I noticed that when we were at North Americans
Yes.
in Pittsburgh, look at your feet. As a general rule, in bikini and fit model, your feet should never be rotating inward ever, like really, no matter what your pose is. So just think about that, like whether it's the bikini kind of side front pose or whether it's the fit model pose. And I see that sometimes, like in that fit model pose, the front foot
Yeah, it's kind of like turned in.
it is sometimes angled in, and it's usually when they're over rotating that forward lean like I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Anyway, so little things like that. But if people, you know, say someone's wanting to do better or they're trying to see where they can improve, like that's a top thing to do. Is just I like to recommend go look at those recent top winners. Look at their posing, look at their shape, look at their suits. I mean, some people think colors of suits don't matter. I do. I mean, you know, you see that when you're on stage. Some just like don't flatter. Skin color makes a difference, right? Hair color makes a difference. So
Yeah, and speaking of that, like when it comes to the suits are different from fit model to bikini. The biggest thing, well, a couple big things is you don't have the bling, so
right.
it's nice you don't have the connectors, those little like crystal connectors, and then the size of the suit bottoms in the back. There's more coverage. However, I will say when you're looking at the girls that won their fit model pro cards, it doesn't look like it's the 50% coverage. It's
Look at that too. Look at that too, because I do think we're gonna see possibly. I mean, I shouldn't even say this. We'll see, but you know that we may see some changes there. Like I was talking to someone about it the other day. And I was saying, you know, just like men's classic physique. You know, at first it came out and it was more of like the you know boxer brief type look, and at one point they said it needed to be 4 inches. You know, down the side, and that's obviously changed. You know, and now pretty much they just wear a black posing trunk, just like, you know, men's bodybuilding. And I think that, you know, we've just seen, especially in classic physique, I mean, in classic physique, we're looking for fine lines and feathered glutes and separation. So, you know, we can see more, you know, that way. So that may evolve. We'll have to see, right? With the fit model suit. But my argument to that is, you know, I've had some clients where like they have like if you have really big glutes and they're trying to fit. I mean, sometimes as you move around on stage, that suit just kind of gets wedged all up in there, you know. And there's not much you can do. I mean, you can try and glue it into place. But so you know, we'll see how that works. I have heard some feedback from some people that they prefer the ones that do not have the slider adjustment on the sides. They like the ones that are just like one piece. It's like one piece of fabric and it's just cut, but there's no adjustable sides. Does that make sense?
yeah.
I've heard some people say that the ones with the adjustable sides are like twisting.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the other thing that I've heard is that they only come in like small, medium, large. There's not like
Mhm.
extra small, there's not extra extra small. Because when you look at like a lot of those suits that they're wearing, there's a lot where I'm looking at the pictures, I'm like, those look too big on them. It's going to
I'm seeing a lot where there's extra fabric. Same. Where and then it gets bunchy and it just kind of sits up at the top and it's bunchy.
yeah.
So I mean, to that, I would say, you know, some might need to do a little bit of adjusting on the suit themselves to customize it, which is not hard with like a needle and thread to just take a stitch or two. Like if there's that much bunchy fabric, especially up at the top, you know, where it's on like your hind, that flank area,
Yep.
that's not going to be flattering, right? So, I mean, say it's the case where you get the smallest suit that you can. I don't think there's any problem with, you know, taking a stitch or two to gather that up. But clearly it's not supposed to be like the big dip like we see in bikini,
Yes. That
right?
yeah, that
At least at this point, that's what they're saying. But yeah, so I think that yeah, there needs to be more sizes available. And I mean, I understand for the suit makers that they're trying to keep up, they're trying to provide things for people that are available. But I'm definitely starting some that seem to be more flattering than others or fit better than others. So I think those, again, the cream always rises to the top. So if those are more flattering, then people are going to end up gravitating towards that brand, whatever it is, and that cut.
Yeah.
But glue is your friend. Glue it in place. Like if you want it to sit in the right spot, and don't pull them down, ladies. Like I'm seeing them really low sometimes,
Like on the hips, like it's not,
low on the hips, like straight across the hips,
so
which is
it's cutting into their glute, right? Because I've noticed that too, where it's so low that it kind of cuts into the shape of their glute.
it doesn't, it ends up looking really straight on the backside, you know, which is going to make the torso just look really straight. It ends up making you look blocky from the front and the back, honestly. But from the front, it's making the torso look really long. So it starts throwing off the lines here. In fact, I love the way Bernadette said it this past weekend at our posing seminar. She said, too much real estate. She's like, ladies, if there's too much real estate between your top and your bottom, it's not a flattering thing. And that's true pretty much for all divisions, right? Like bikini and fit model, you want to angle it up for sure in, you know, figure and wellness and those, that's another topic we're not talking about, but really you don't ever really want a ton of real estate between the top and the bottom. So we were talking about suit fit in that regard, but glue it down. The other thing we talked about, and I have seen some bunchy suits even in the front, ladies, and it's just really awkward. Like if it's so loose that like in some of your poses it's almost you can see in from the side, like that's kind of awkward. So
Yeah.
please glue it
Yeah.
if it's feeling loose
Or
at all.
how exchanging. Like that would be the nice thing too with the suit makers is if they get a suit, the suit bottom, because again, just being like a small, medium, large and not really having that custom fit, if it's too big to try to get a different size, because oftentimes you do get a little bit leaner, fit model, maybe you're not getting as lean, right? But a little bit leaner as you get closer to the show. And so you probably have
Hmm.
even more extra fabric hanging around.
Yeah, yeah. Which like you just gotta glue it. I mean, that's happened to me before. It's probably happened to you. You know, I mean, I've dropped pounds the week of the show inexplicably. I don't know. I've heard that's kind of a thing a lot of people do. I don't know why. Is that just like, I mean, you think cortisol would be going up? I don't know, but I have dropped a bunch of weight like the week of the show without changing anything else. And so, yeah, if your suit's falling off, just glue that thing all over the place. Glue it.
And the tanners backstage, if you're doing the host tan, they'll always glue you in if you need that.
They're usually really good. I also just think it's a just kind of a skill and a knowledge that like every athlete should just kind of know, like where your suit should hit, where it should fit. They're usually super helpful, but like, you know, every now and then I hear of an experience where someone's like, well, they pulled it up that way or they did this or that. And I was surprised. I think they're usually really great, but I just think like just know your own suit, know where it should hit, and then you can kind of be like, okay, glue me in here, please.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I think the suits will probably evolve a little bit. I'm seeing a lot more bling on the shoes now, and I think that's why. I noticed it this weekend in Arizona, and I said to someone sitting next to me at the judging table, I'm like, I think these fit models, they want more bling, and they can't have it on the suits, so they're all getting the shoes that have, you know, the decked out shoes with the AB crystals and that. Which, side note, a lot of judges don't like those,
I was
so
just going to ask you,
I get it, but
that kind of take away seeing that sparkle on the bottom of their feet kind of like distract you a little bit from the judging table? Because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
really
I
up
don't
there
have a
looking
strong,
at them. So,
yes, exactly. Like I personally don't have a strong opinion. I don't like detest those heels or think that no one should, but Becky Clausen for sure mentioned it this weekend in our opposing seminar, and I've heard her say it before. So I know for sure, like she doesn't care for them. And there are a lot of judges who do. They think that it's super distracting. That those crystals catch light, you know, which I know is pretty in theory, but as with everything as a competitor, no matter what division you're in, like we don't want to do anything that distracts so much from our physique, right? You worked so hard for this and like weighed your food and did every workout. So like doing something crazy with your hair or you know, having those super blinged out shoes, as fun as they might be, isn't always the best idea on stage
yeah,
because you want the focus to be here
looking at
on the muscles and the physique.
the
Yeah.
physique and presentation and all that
Yeah.
good
So
stuff.
I don't recommend those shoes. I don't like if an athlete asks me about them or says, should I order this one? I'm like, I know they're so fun, but no, just go really simple, really the plainer, because you just want the focus up here. Like I said, you want your legs to look nice and long. And on that note, like every now and then we see girls with like ankle straps around your ankle. I'm not sure where they sell those, but we really, you really just want the clear heels, either ones that just slide right on, or if they have clear straps on the ankle with the buckle, that's fine, right? But like I've seen some with like a cuff, if that makes sense, like a wide cuff with rhinestones even. Which, girl, I mean, wear those out in Vegas. Like I think those look super fun, but not
Not,
not on stage.
yeah, because it cuts
Yeah.
you off.
It cuts your, yeah, it's gonna make you look shorter, kind of chops you up. But again, it's just kind of that distraction from your physique and what you're working for. So
Yeah. Well, what about now that Fit Model has been introduced?
yeah.
Where do you see, or what are you seeing from a judging perspective, like the way that the bikini division is going now? Do you feel that you've noticed that there's more, that they're rewarding more muscularity, more density than maybe they have in the past? Because the last couple years, we're like looking at Miss Bikini Olympia, like Jen Dory, versus the girls that are winning shows now. Do you see any sort of shift in the way bikini might be going now that Fit Model is?
I see a little bit. I just think where there used to be a little bit more of a gray area and it was kind of like harder as a judge, in my opinion, because we were like, oh gosh, is that too much muscle? Like this person's super conditioned and you want to reward that. It's bodybuilding. We want to give the most conditioned athlete on stage like that placing, right? But also within the criteria. We got to stay within the division, within the criteria.
Yeah,
So I do think like there's been a little bit of a shift just where like we can reward that a little bit more. I don't think it's necessarily totally different. I just feel like where it might have been like right on the line, I kind of feel like we can go with that look, versus where right before we might have had to hold back or not place someone as high, if because I mean the glute fullness is there, that the ham, those tie-ins, it's there, it's happening. So yeah, and we want that distinction between fit model and bikini, right? So it just kind of allows us to emphasize that a little bit to sharpen.
yeah, because I've heard that from some athletes even when I was just competing this past weekend. So some of the girls
Yeah.
in the open division were saying, that were even placing in the top 10, like their feedback was more, and some of them were like, I don't know if I want to be more, but that, that's kind of what's being
Yeah.
rewarded, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just is, it is what it is. So that, just that more.
Yeah, I mean, as a judge, I think it makes it a little bit easier to have that distinction, like personally, especially even on the NPC level, because we would get that. You get someone that shows up in like super condition and super like sharp. This is in bikini, let's say, this is before fit model, and you'd have this struggle because like you might have like five ladies in front of you, and like one of them super conditioned and pretty sharp on those tie-ins and what have you, and then maybe the other three or four are like pretty soft, you know what I mean, in this class. And it's like, okay, well, we want to give the most conditioned person that first place. However, we feel like we need to stay within the criteria and what bikini's supposed to look like. Does that make sense? So now it just feels like the door's open and now we can just like reward that
You have
that look.
that conditioning, which is what I've noticed. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
place super high at all, but just even bringing even more conditioning, and looking at how I stacked up compared to all the other girls, I'm like, okay, I'm on track now. Like the leanest, the
And
leanest
you're so conditioned. Yeah.
so conditioned. And I just actually had got some feedback from Dave Hershowitz. I wish I could remember how to pronounce his last name, Herskowitz.
Which
And that
I
was what
think,
he
but
was
yeah.
saying, is he was like, your conditioning, is so much better. Like you made a lot of improvement.
Because you just saw him not long ago, right? Didn't you have
Yeah,
him on your
just
second
a couple
channel?
months ago, he was
Yeah.
no, he wasn't head judge. It was Tim Gardner, but it was at the Florida State Pro where I
Okay.
saw him and Tim Gardner. So it was nice to see them again. I'm still waiting on feedback from
See, so that's what I'm talking about. Remember how I said that earlier? How, like, when you're a judge and you see an athlete that's like gone and done the work, listen to the feedback, you show up again, and like he saw it, right? He was like, "Yeah, you're bringing it." That's what you're saying, right? That he
yes.
could see the change in your conditioning, the improvements that you made, and judges want to reward that. So again, that's why like it's always so great, and I'm sure you always advise your athletes like to always ask for feedback. I always tell mine, hey, go up and introduce yourself to the judges, even at check-ins. Like I had some athletes that competed a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, in Dallas. And I was like, hey, go up to the judge, like when you're at check-ins, if you have a minute, if they have a minute, and just say, hey, I'm so and so, nice to meet you, whatever. Like, get that face-to-face time. That's not to say that, like, when you get on stage the next day, it's not going to change your placing or anything, but it's professional, right? We're building a network. And when you're an athlete, and I think when you take yourself seriously and you want to get somewhere in the sport, like say you're an amateur and you want to win that pro card and you want to go all the way, like it's like any other arena out there, right? Any other sport, business, what have you. You want to network, you want to get to know faces, you want to introduce yourself to people, and that never hurts. And then when you come back and you get in front of, David or whoever, whatever judge again, then they remember you. Oh yeah, Valerie, I remember you. You asked for feedback last time. We talked about your conditioning, whatever. And it's just like, it just helps. It helps along the way, to like build those connections. And I think, and like when you get in front of those same judges over and over, especially, because then they see those improvements. Just like when I first met you and you were competing right here in Utah, because
Yes.
yeah, because you were like that person that was like, I'm gonna go work and I'm gonna listen to the feedback and I'm gonna go do it.
And what, yeah, so seeking that judge feedback so you can better fit the criteria based off of
Mhm.
what the judges are seeing. So, with that said, what is probably the most common feedback that you give to bikini competitors versus like fit model? Like what is like what's
Just more conditioning on the backside. It's pretty much always like glutes and hamstring. Almost always. We're women. That's where we hold our fat, right? That's where like the last place that fat's usually hanging on.
uh
So that's typically the most often. Building density in the glutes, just more fullness in the glutes is common. So,
and then when it comes to fit model, what have you been noticing has been some of the common feedback that you're giving there? Or is it more of a wide variety? Is
It's so new. I feel like it's a wide variety with Fit Model so far. Just because, and we get that in every bodybuilding division, right? Because some might show up too lean. I mean, that's an actual thing. Like I have to explain to people sometimes, like it is not a skinny competition because some people don't understand. You know, I mean, we could go into this whole subject, right, about like just getting feedback and how you handle feedback. It's hard. It's vulnerable. Like we've all been there. We're sensitive. We've worked hard, but you got to keep an open mind and trust in the experts. I mean, you are placing yourself in their hands. I like literally I try to remind people, like, listen, by registering at this event, you are saying like, I'm trusting these judges to tell me where I fall, where I place. So it's not really fair to go away and get mad. Just not everyone gets first place, kids. You can't really, you got to take it. You may not be happy about it, but anyway, onto that subject though. In every division, like sometimes someone's going to be too lean, sometimes someone needs more conditioning, sometimes there's just not enough muscle density there in general, right? Someone could be 10% body fat, but that doesn't mean that they have muscularity and muscle density in the right places, right? For whatever division they're in. So if it's bikini, you know what I mean? Yeah, you might be 10% body fat up there, girl, and you might look super hot, but that's not going to win you first place. Like you got to have some glute density, got to have your glute max. I mean, we're looking for, you know,
that
shoulders.
fullness? Because I have seen that in the past where, like you said, it's not just a skinny contest. There are some people who get so lean that they're stringy, and
Yeah, stringy.
it's just
It's not always good.
it's not a pretty look. Like it's cool because they were able to get themselves super lean, but that's not going to be rewarded either. I've never seen a stringy physique ever rewarded. It's
For sure, that's not what we're looking for in bikini or fit model at all. Like I was saying earlier, even in bikini, even if it's more muscular now than fit model, it's a different division. The difference between the two, it's still bubbly full muscles. So we don't want you so lean and so hard where it looks stringy. Like we don't want to see ropey hamstrings. I don't want to be looking up there at a bikini athlete showing her back pose and seeing, stringy hamstrings. That's not, we want to see full glutes, a little definition on that tie-in area. Yes. But, yeah, full bubbly round muscles. So yeah, because we all know those people who are like, no one worked harder, or I lost this many pounds, or again, like I said, it might be, you might be a really low percentage of body fat, but that doesn't mean you have the shape that we're looking for in bodybuilding. So
yeah, and
it's
judges don't, I don't want to say they don't care because they do care, but at the same time, like they don't care how much cardio you were doing. They don't care how much weight you lost. They don't care about that. They're there judging.
It's not a transformation contest.
Yes.
Like I hear people say, like, well, that person lost 50 pounds. I mean, congratulations. That is awesome. Like I have crazy respect for you. That's incredible for anyone, right? But at the same time, this is a bodybuilding competition and it just is what it is, right? There's criteria for each division. There's a shape, muscularity condition we're looking for. And that's just it. So yeah, it's not that we don't like care, but and if I hear one more person say like no one worked harder than so and so, like you don't know that. Number one, you have no idea how hard anyone worked, but B, it just doesn't matter. It's not relevant, you know. But on top of that, no one cares what your weight is. No one cares what your body fat percentage is. No one's measuring your waist up on stage. Maybe you have a 22-inch waist, ladies. Like great, but do you have everything else that we're looking for? Right? Do you have the glutes? Do you have the? So those are just some of the like little misconceptions that people have sometimes that think that that's going to place them above someone else, and it doesn't. It's just yeah, it's just the balance. And the conditioning really.
Yeah, and getting back to what you were saying earlier, sometimes people will see pictures of call outs and they're like, what the heck? Like this isn't what you
Yeah.
guys are saying is the division criteria. I saw this with Fit Model at just a show in Texas, just some like
Yep.
local Texas show, and just the comments on there, people were like, "This has got to stop. Why are you rewarding this?" And I didn't, I'm never going to comment, but I was literally like, "Okay, there's four girls in the Fit Model division. This is all that they can judge. Like, so yeah,
This is what they got.
this
Yeah.
they're more jacked. Like that's
So thank you. Yeah. So it's not that the judges don't know what they're doing. Because like I was telling you, I've been hearing some of those comments. Like the judges, they can't figure it out or they don't know what they're doing. And it's like, I always compare it to the rental car. I don't know if you've ever heard my silly like rental car analogy, but like case in point, I saw your husband post something about his rental car. I don't know if it was today. He
Wagoneer.
got this big old like mom car. You show up and you get what you get, right? I don't know. I know it's the silliest like little, analogy that I make, but I'm like, you might show up in Houston, Texas, and there's four rental cars, and none of them might be what you would pick for your favorite car, right? None of them are your top choice. But if you had to rank them, okay, do I want that Suburban? Do I want the Ford Fiat? Do I want the Chevy? Whatever, that's kind of how it is. And so we do our best with what's right in front of us, what's the closest fit. And sometimes there is no perfect fit. So you just have to decide. You have to say, okay, this shape looks more like what we're looking for. This one's a little bit leaner, and you do your best. But yeah, there's always going to be the peanut gallery. There's always going to be, the naysayers.
Yes, and then going along with that, people will be like, "Oh, it's rigged." Like the judges have favorites, and that's not the case either. When I got to judge for a few years, just the local NPC shows, there's like six or seven of us on a judging panel, and at the time they were taking the highest and lowest scores, dropping them off, and then taking the average. And so it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So if my bestie was up there and I wanted to cheat and I gave my bestie first place, but like everyone else placed her maybe fourth, what she deserved, my score is going to be thrown out. They're not going to use my score. I'm not going to influence the panel at all. And the other thing I point out to people too is like we only have their number at pre-judging when we do all the placings. I don't even have a name. I don't even know anybody's name. So even if someone was like, so and so is doing this or whatever, like we don't care. Yeah, we don't care. We don't care who they're sponsored by or what team they're on or anything else. Like I know I am not willing to like, throw my integrity and my good name as a judge for something stupid like that. Because scores are public. Scores are made public. Like you can look it up. You can go see I'm judge number 4. You can go look at everything I scored for every single person. So if I was doing anything questionable, someone could find it. Like it would be obvious. So I actually had a local coach one time tell me, like, no, your scores are really consistent. Like, you do a good job. And it was a huge compliment to me. I was like, thank you. And I actually liked knowing that this person was looking, like went and looked, because those scores would have to be posted to the website the day after the show. I think it's within 24 hours. It's supposed to be up. But yeah, I'm like, go ahead and look. Go ahead and because I've judged some of my own close friends on stage before and
yeah,
people on the same team or whatever, and it's always going to be objective. Yeah.
yeah, which is so great because that's what you want, and so you can go into shows knowing that Judges are there judging based on the criteria. Also, what is being presented and trying to figure out based on the criteria who best fits.
Who's the best representative of that? Yeah, no matter what. So yeah, we've had complete, no names win an overall at our local shows, not associated with any team at all. We've had people who coach themselves, win the overall bikini or what have you. Even when big teams that are here in town, might have individuals in those divisions. So it's not relevant at all, like what team they're on. And I like the fact that we don't know, that we don't even have a name. I don't want them to say what team that person's on. So I personally don't like it when they read a bio and they say, "Oh, I want to thank my coaches." Da, da, da. I don't want to know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah. So all we can do as judges is do our very best and yeah, find the best examples of those divisions and I love having the judging experience and judging on other panels because we're always learning too. Like this past weekend, I got to judge on the panel with Becky Clausen, who is the head judge. And I mean, gosh, like Becky judges every major show. I was gonna say in the country, but out of the country too. She goes to Italy. She goes to. So I'm listening. Like I'm trying to glean all the information. Because it say there's something that's close up there, and I'm looking like, okay, I could probably put either one of these people in first or second. I want to know by someone who has more experience than me. What's the deciding factor?
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing that maybe I'm not, or I just want to know what should be the priority, right? Whether let's say it's conditioning you know or muscle size or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Well, we have had an incredible conversation. I can't believe our time is almost up.
It's too fun to talk about this stuff.
It's so much fun. And so before we go, I any last words of wisdom you want to share with women that are watching who are curious about either division, like any things that's coming to mind.
That are curious about either division
Yeah.
or like trying to decide. You mean like which to compete in or
Yeah,
um
which to compete in, like how they could decide what fit they might be. Um,
I think a good tip is kind of like don't try not to force it. Like if it like go with the one that's the better fit. I think for a lot of people there is going to be one or the other that's a better fit. Like say you're someone who puts on muscle pretty easily, your body's super responsive, to your training and whatever. Like you're probably going to do better in bikini if that's the look that you like and where you want to go. Like for me, like I moved to bikini back in the day after doing two really funny, attempts at figure. This is way back when like Aaron Stern was like my idol, Nicole Wilkins. It was a totally different look for figure than it is now. But I was fighting this uphill battle. Like my body just doesn't put on that size. I'm 5'2" and like I was 100 pounds at the time. I eventually got up to like 112, I think I competed at lean. So I put on a lot of muscle, but don't fight the uphill battle. You don't have to. Like I just think fit models, this great new division that we have that's more attainable for a lot of people. And so, it's not stepping down. I really, really don't like when people say like drop down to fit model. I think it's just a shift. Like I think it's going with what's best for your body, especially if that's healthier for your body. And if that's a good fit for you, then I think it's a great division. So I just think, there's no like, issue either way. Like just go with what works best for your body.
yes, I think the fit model division is beautiful too, and who knows, maybe I'll check it out. Like I've been open to it from the beginning, but I know initially a lot of people were like, ooh, fit model, like that means you think I'm
It's
less
not
flexible.
lesser than. It's not lesser than. It's just a different look. But
Yeah, so I love that. Thank you so much for that.
yeah.
And lastly, where can people learn more about your coaching and different things like that? Do you have a
Well,
website,
thanks.
Instagram?
Yeah, so my website is just robynmaher.com. And then my Instagram is slcgirl.robynmaher. I've been SLC girl forever on Instagram, so I just leave it up there. Usually people put SLC girl in, they can find it on Instagram. Yeah, and then of course the Wasatch Warrior show, which is going to be April 18th, 2026, here in Salt Lake City at the Salt Palace. So that'll be another great event. Love to see you there.
Yes, and that's pros and amateurs.
Yes, yeah. So it's IFBB Pro Bikini, Pro Men's Physique, Masters 40 for both of those divisions. It's an Olympia qualifier, and then all amateur NPC divisions.
So much
And a
fun.
national qualifier. So
Amazing. All right.
yeah.
Well, we'll stop there, and we gotta
Thank
talk
you.
again as things start to evolve.
I know we might have to come back and have like an episode 2
Yeah,
to be continued.
do more. All right. Well, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
talk to you later. Remember,
So much fun.
subscribe, comment, ask us questions. We'd love to talk more about this. All right.
Yes, please.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, girl.